It started like any ordinary evening. One of those nights you don't expect to remember. I had no plans, no expectations. Just a quiet decision to attend my cousin's wedding, half-heartedly. The venue was warm and glowing, laughter echoing off soft candlelight. But I felt like a background extra in someone else's big moment. That was until I noticed her across the room. She wasn't trying to stand out. There was no grand entrance, no spotlight on her. She was sipping something from a glass, smiling softly at a joke someone made, hair tucked behind one ear, completely unaware of the way the world had slowed down around her. And just like that, I was caught off guard. Not by beauty alone, though she had plenty of it, but by something quieter. A stillness. A presence. We met by accident. Or maybe not. The bar ran out of tonic water, and we reached for the last bottle at the same time. She laughed, gestured for me to take it, and I, feeling braver than usual, offered to share instead. That led to 10 minutes of small talk. 10 turned to 30. Then, before I knew it, hours had gone by. We never left the corner table near the balcony. She told me about her job, how she loved it and hated it in equal measure. I told her about my failed attempts at being an artist, and how I somehow ended up in accounting. We joked about how weddings are full of people searching for something, even if they pretend not to be. I don't know why I said half the things I did. Maybe because it felt safe, like I could hand her little pieces of myself and trust that she wouldn't drop them. She wasn't trying to be impressive, and that made her unforgettable. Her stories didn't have dramatic endings. Her voice never rose for attention. She spoke like someone who listens more than she talks, who notices the way people stir their coffee or the exact second a person starts to smile. And I found myself listening in a way I hadn't in years. She asked real questions, waited for real answers. With her, it didn't feel like we were strangers trying to impress each other. It felt like two people remembering something they forgot they knew. Somewhere between our third shared drink and the lights dimming outside, we admitted it. This was only tonight. No numbers exchanged, no promises, no trying to fit each other into our real lives. One night, she said, eyes holding mine like a secret. Let's just keep it beautiful. And I agreed. Because some things are too rare to ruin with reality. We danced once. Just once. No one else noticed. No music was playing. Just the distant hum of celebration around us and her hand in mine. I think I whispered something about how strange it felt to feel so familiar with someone I just met. She didn't respond. She just smiled. When morning came, the goodbye was simple. No lingering, no regrets. Just a quiet thank you, a soft look, and the understanding that this night, however fleeting, had changed something neither of us could name. Days passed, then weeks, and yet something about that night clung to me like the scent of rain on dry ground. I tried to carry on, return to normal. Early mornings, emails, errands, but the rhythm of life had subtly shifted. I'd catch myself staring at my coffee, remembering how she stirred hers 3 times before sipping. A song would come on the radio, and just like that, I'd be back in that moment, hearing her laugh at one of my dumb stories. I didn't have her number, not even a last name. We hadn't thought it necessary. One night. That was the deal. But the memory of her kept showing up uninvited. It wasn't obsession. It was more like a thread I couldn't stop pulling, each tug unraveling a little more of the quiet connection we'd shared. She had made me feel seen. Not flattered, not desired, just seen. And that feeling doesn't fade easily. I went on a date 2 weeks after. Nice enough girl, smart, kind. But while she spoke, I was somewhere else. I smiled, nodded at the right times, but the spark wasn't there. It wasn't fair and I knew it. I ended things gently before they even began. She deserved more than a distracted heart. Work became a distraction, the kind I threw myself into. Meetings, spreadsheets, the occasional after-hours drink with colleagues. But even in that chaos, she would surface. A perfume in the elevator that smelled like hers. A stranger's laugh in a crowd that sounded too familiar. She wasn't haunting me, but she had taken up quiet residence in the spaces I thought were mine. Then something strange happened. A friend tagged me in a wedding photo on social media. I didn't think twice about it until I saw her in the background, blurred, but unmistakable. Same dress, same soft expression. I stared at the image like it held a secret code. And suddenly, I wasn't content with remembering. I needed to know if she was out there thinking about me too. I reached out to my cousin, casually asked about guests from the wedding. Didn't give details, just a vague question. There was this girl, I said. You might not even remember her. But he did. She was a childhood friend of the bride. Out of town. Kind of quiet, he said, but nice. I held back a smile. He gave me a first name. That's all. But it was enough to start looking. I didn't even know what I'd do if I found her. I just knew I had to try. Not for some grand gesture or dramatic reunion. Just to answer the question that wouldn't leave me alone. Was that night just a beautiful memory, or the beginning of something real? Most people spend their whole lives chasing moments that feel alive. I already had one. And no matter how impossible it seemed, I wasn't ready to let it end there. I found her name like any ordinary evening. A tagged photo on the bride's profile led me to a page that hadn't been updated in months. No expectations. It was her unmistakably. Just a quiet decision to attend my cousin's wedding, sending the message. Half-heartedly. There's a strange vulnerability in reaching out after silence, soft candlelight. But I kept it simple. But I felt like a background extra who someone else mentioned that night. And that was until I noticed her across the room. I didn't ask for anything. She wasn't trying to stand out. Just sent the message. There was no grand entrance. No spotlight on her. 3 days later. She was sipping something from a glass. Smiling she remembered every joke someone made. Said she'd thought about that night more than she expected to. Completely unaware of the way the world had slowed down around her. We started exchanging messages. And just like that, slowly I was caught off guard, like feeling the temperature of water before stepping in. Though she had plenty of it. No pressure, but by something quieter. No declarations. A stillness. Just two people relearning the shape of a connection that had never really left. Or maybe not. When we finally met again, out of tonic water. It was both familiar and foreign. We reached for the last bottle at the same time, but quieter somehow. She laughed. Like life had happened in the time between, and I, feeling braver than usual, stories behind her eyes. Instead. I didn't ask for minutes of small talk. She didn't offer 10 any. Turned to 30. We both knew then this wasn't about explaining the past. Hours had gone by. It was about seeing we never left the corner table near the balcony. We talked for hours about her job, but how she loved it and there was a cautiousness in equal measure. The first time I told her about my failed attempts at being an artist. Now everything mattered. How I somehow ended up in accounting. Felt heavier. We joked about how weddings are full of people searching for something. I told her how that night shifted something in me. I don't know why I said half the things I did. Other people maybe because it felt safe. She admitted she tried to hand her little pieces of myself and trust that she wouldn't drop them. But it kept coming back. She wasn't trying to be impressive about anything, and that made her unforgettable. She didn't want to romanticize a memory. Didn't have dramatic endings. She wasn't even certain she was ready for something real. She spoke like someone who listened more than any disclaimer, who noticed there was the way people stir their coffee, an invitation without guarantees. Starts to smile. I didn't push, and I found myself listening in a way I hadn't in years. I wasn't looking for certainty. She asked real questions. I was looking for honesty, for real answers. Whatever this was, with her, it deserved more than what we were strangers trying to impress each other. Not every day. It felt like two people remembering something they forgot. But each time felt like somewhere between our we never shared drink and the lights dimming outside. Small things. We admitted about her day, her family, her favorite book growing up. No numbers exchanged. I listened like no those details were treasure. No trying to fit each other into our real lives. Not the curated version of myself, she said, but the real messy holding one. Mine like a secret. Eventually, let's just keep pretending this wasn't turning into something. Because some things are too rare to ruin with reality. We danced a quiet shift. Just once. We started planning no one else together. Noticed. She'd call me when something funny happened. Just the distant hum of celebration around us, and her hand in mine. It was easy, I whispered but not something light. About how strange it felt to feel so familiar. It felt like someone I just met. One night, without she didn't thinking, respond. I told her. She just smiled. I'm glad we didn't leave when it at one came. The goodbye was simple. She didn't respond right away. No lingering, no just regrets. Smiled in that quiet way of hers and reached for my hand. Look. And in that moment, I knew this night, this wasn't just fleeting, a beautiful memory had changed anymore. Something neither of us could name. It was growing, then weeks, and it was ours. And yet something about we that never night clung to me like the scent of rain on dry ground. It just unfolded. I tried to carry on, slowly, return to normal. Early mornings became emails, errands. Two became but the weekends, rhythm of life had subtly shifted. We were woven into each other's lives without staring ceremony. At my coffee. No fireworks, how she no dramatic hers 3 times before sipping. Just consistency. A song would come on the radio. She remembered how I liked my coffee. I'd be back in that moment, keeping her favorite snacks around one of my dumb stories. It was in those quiet details that I realized this was love. We hadn't thought it doesn't need a stage. One night, we didn't avoid challenges. But the memory of her kept showing up uninvited. There were misunderstandings. It wasn't obsession. Schedules that didn't align. It was more like a thread moments I couldn't silence pulling. Felt heavier than words. Each tug unraveling a little more of the quiet connection we'd shared. I learned that love wasn't about avoiding conflict. Not flattered. It was about desire to stay when it got uncomfortable. And that feeling doesn't fade easily. And I went on a date 2 weeks after. We kept choosing each other. smart,
even
kind.
on days it would have been easier not to.
I was
She
somewhere
supported
else.
me in ways
I
that
smiled,
didn't ask for
nodded at the
recognition,
right times,
pushed
but
me
the
to
spark
revisit
wasn't
painting.
There.
It
Something
wasn't
I'd
fair,
failed
and I
years
knew
ago.
it.
One
I
night,
ended things
she
gently
surprised
before they
me with a
even
blank
began.
canvas and a
She
quiet
deserved
smile.
more than a distracted
Try again,
heart, she
Work
said.
became a
That
distraction.
canvas now hangs
the kind
in our
I threw
living room,
myself into.
imperfect,
Meetings
bold,
spread full of
spreadsheets,
color.
the occasional
Just like
after-hours
us.
drink with
I
colleagues.
helped her through a job
But even in
change,
that chaos,
cheered her
she
on
would
from the
surface.
sidelines,
A perfume
when
in
she
the
doubted
elevator
herself.
that smelled like
We
hers.
became each other's
A
sounding
stranger's
boards,
laugh in a
mirrors,
crowd that
and
sounded
anchors.
too familiar.
It wasn't a
She
fairy
wasn't
tale.
haunting me.
There were
but
no
she had
grand
taken up
makeovers
quiet
or sudden
residence in the
transformations.
spaces I thought were
We
mine.
remained ourselves,
Then something
flawed,
strange
learning,
happened.
growing.
A friend
But within
tagged me
that,
in a
we
wedding
found a
photo
rhythm
on
that
social
worked.
media.
We
I
learned
didn't
when to
think
speak
twice about
and when
it
to simply
until I
sit
saw her
beside
in
one
the
another.
background.
We
Blurred,
celebrated the
but
small wins.
unmistakable. Finishing
Same
a book,
dress,
getting
same
through a
soft
hard
expression.
day, cooking a meal
stared
without
at the
burning
image
it.
like it held a
Love
secret
showed up in
code.
those moments,
And suddenly,
subtle but steady.
I wasn't content with
People asked
remembering.
how we knew.
I needed
There
to
wasn't
know
a
if she was
single
out there
moment.
thinking about me
It was
too.
a series of them.
I reached out to
100
my
quiet
cousin,
assurances.
casually asked
The
about
way she
guests
reached
from the
for my
wedding.
hand in a
Didn't
crowded
give
place.
details, just
The
a
way
vague
I looked for
question.
her first in
There
a
was
room.
this girl.
It was
I said.
realizing that no
You might
matter
not
where we
even
were,
remember her.
if she was beside
But
me,
he did.
I was home.
She was a childhood
That one
friend
night
of
had
the bride.
opened a door neither
Out
of
of
us had
town.
expected.
Kind of quiet,
And
he
instead
said,
of
but
walking
nice.
away,
We
I
stepped
stepped
back
through
a
it together.
smile.
He
She
gave
once
me a
said
first
something
name
that stuck with
That's
me.
all.
The best
But it
kind
was
of
enough
love
to
doesn't
start
rush
looking.
in.
I
It
didn't even know
unfolds,
what I'd
like
do
a
if
letter
I
you
found
didn't
her.
know was
I
written
just knew I
for
had
you.
to try.
That's
Not
what we
for some
became.
grand gesture,
Not an
or dramatic
explosion,
reunion,
but a revelation.
just to answer the question
Steady,
that wouldn't
deep,
leave me alone.
True.
Was that
Now we
night
laugh
just a
about that
beautiful
promise,
memory,
just
or the
one
beginning
night.
of something real?
How certain
Most
we were.
people spend their
How
whole
wrong we
lives
were.
chasing
But
moments
maybe
that
we
feel
needed
alive.
to believe it to let
I
it
already
happen.
had one.
Maybe the
And
lack
no
of
matter how
expectation was
impossible
what
it gave us
seemed.
space to
I
truly
wasn't ready
see
to
each
let it
other.
end there.
And maybe that's what real love is. Seeing someone fully, choosing them quietly, and building something lasting without needing to shout it to the world. What started as a fleeting moment became the rest of our story. Not perfect, not planned, but real. And that's more than enough.